Look into a mirror for a moment and gaze directly into your own eyes. What you're seeing isn't just the product of genetic lottery or evolutionary adaptation. According to Carl Jung's revolutionary understanding of the human psyche, you're looking at a physical manifestation of your soul's deepest architecture. The ancient saying, "the eyes are the windows to the soul," carries far more psychological truth than most people realize. Jung, the pioneering Swiss psychiatrist who gave us concepts like the collective unconscious, archetypes, and shadow work, understood that every aspect of our being, including seemingly random physical traits like eye color, reflects profound patterns operating in the depths of our unconscious mind. Tonight, we're embarking on a journey that will forever change how you understand not just your own eyes, but the hidden psychological landscape they represent. This isn't about superficial personality tests or pop psychology generalizations. This is about diving deep into Jung's analytical framework to understand how the color of your eyes serves as a gateway to comprehending your archetypal patterns, your shadow work, your individuation journey, and the very structure of your soul's expression in this lifetime. Jung spent decades studying the relationship between physical manifestations and psychological realities. He understood that nothing about human existence is random, that everything, from our dreams to our physical characteristics, carries symbolic meaning that can unlock profound insights into who we are at the deepest levels of our being. Your eye color isn't just genetics in action. It's a symbol, an archetype made manifest, a clue to understanding the fundamental psychological patterns that drive your behavior, your relationships, your creative expression, and your spiritual evolution. When you understand what your eye color reveals about your psyche, you gain access to hidden aspects of yourself that can transform how you navigate life, relationships, and your own personal growth. Before we dive deep into this fascinating exploration, if you're someone who's drawn to understanding the hidden psychological meanings behind physical traits and human behavior, please hit that like button right now. It helps me know this content is reaching people who appreciate deep psychological insights. And if you want more content exploring the intersection of Jungian psychology, spirituality, and self-understanding, subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss these profound explorations. Now let's begin by understanding Jung's revolutionary approach to color psychology and how it applies to the most intimate and revealing aspect of human appearance, the color of our eyes. Carl Jung's understanding of color psychology extends far beyond simple associations or cultural conditioning. In his comprehensive study of the human psyche, Jung discovered that colors operate as a universal language of the unconscious mind, a symbolic system that transcends individual experience and taps into what he called the collective unconscious, the shared psychological heritage of all humanity. According to Jung, colors aren't just visual experiences. They're archetypal energies that carry specific psychological meanings and activate particular patterns in our unconscious minds. When these archetypal color energies manifest in something as intimate and personal as eye color, they become powerful indicators of our deepest psychological structure and spiritual orientation. Jung's approach to understanding color psychology was revolutionary because he recognized that our responses to different colors aren't just learned behaviors or cultural preferences. They're rooted in ancient, instinctual patterns that connect us to fundamental forces in nature and the human psyche. These patterns operate below the threshold of conscious awareness, influencing our behavior, preferences, relationships, and life choices in ways we rarely recognize. When Jung looked at eye color through this psychological lens, he saw something profound. The color of our eyes represents the dominant archetypal energy that shapes our personality, our approach to relationships, our creative expression, and our spiritual journey. It's not that your eye color determines your personality, it's that your eye color reflects the archetypal patterns that your soul chose to embody in this lifetime. This perspective transforms eye color from a random genetic trait into a meaningful symbol that can provide deep insights into your psychological makeup. Your brown eyes aren't just brown, they're expressing the archetypal energies of earth, stability, passion, and groundedness. Your blue eyes aren't just blue, they're manifesting the archetypal patterns of water, depth, intuition, and spiritual seeking. Jung understood that every aspect of our physical being carries psychological significance, because the psyche doesn't exist separately from the body. They're two aspects of the same fundamental reality. Your body is your psyche made manifest, and your psyche is your body's invisible architecture. This means that something as specific as eye color can serve as a direct gateway to understanding your soul's deepest patterns and purposes. But Jung's approach goes even deeper than individual psychology. He recognized that eye color connects us to ancient wisdom traditions that understood the relationship between physical appearance and spiritual reality. Many indigenous cultures, mystical traditions, and ancient psychological systems recognized that eye color carried profound meaning about a person's soul characteristics, their role in the community, and their spiritual gifts and challenges. Modern Western culture largely lost this understanding, reducing eye color to mere genetics or superficial attractiveness. But Jung's analytical psychology provides a framework for recovering this ancient wisdom while grounding it in rigorous psychological observation and theory. When we understand our eye color through Jung's framework, we gain access to insights about our personality patterns that go far beyond surface-level traits. We begin to understand the deeper psychological forces that drive our behavior, our attractions, our creative expressions, and our spiritual yearnings. We discover aspects of ourselves that we may have never consciously recognized, but that have been shaping our lives from the very beginning. Brown eyes, the most common eye color globally, carry the profound archetypal energy of Earth itself. If you have brown eyes, Jung would recognize in you the manifestation of what he called the archetypal patterns of grounding, stability, passion, and deep connection to the material world and natural rhythms. But don't mistake commonness for ordinariness. In Jung's understanding, brown eyes represent one of the most powerful and essential archetypal energies, the capacity to remain rooted while reaching toward transformation. Brown eyes embody the psychological pattern of what Jung might call the grounded mystic, individuals who can access profound spiritual insights while maintaining practical engagement with the physical world. The brown-eyed soul tends to operate from what Jung identified as the sensation function, a psychological preference for concrete experience, tangible reality, and practical wisdom gained through direct engagement with life. This doesn't mean brown-eyed individuals lack imagination or spiritual depth. Quite the opposite. It means their spiritual insights tend to emerge through embodied experience rather than abstract contemplation. From an archetypal perspective, brown eyes connect you to the ancient energies of the Earth Mother, the wise elder, and the faithful guardian. These are individuals who serve as anchors for others, providing stability, practical wisdom, and reliable support during times of chaos or uncertainty. Brown-eyed people often find themselves naturally taking on roles as healers, teachers, protectors, and guides, not because they seek these roles, but because their archetypal energy naturally draws others seeking groundedness and authentic wisdom. The shadow aspect of brown eyes, those unconscious patterns that Jung recognized in every archetypal energy, tends to manifest as potential stubbornness, resistance to change, or excessive attachment to material security. Brown-eyed individuals might struggle with flexibility, preferring familiar patterns even when growth requires stepping into unknown territory. Their strength becomes their weakness when the need for stability prevents necessary evolution or transformation. However, when brown-eyed individuals engage in what Jung called shadow work, consciously recognizing and integrating these challenging aspects, they often develop extraordinary capacity for facilitating others' growth and transformation. They become the stable foundation from which others can safely explore change and uncertainty. Brown eyes also carry what Jung would recognize as powerful sexual and creative energy. The Earth archetype embodies fertility, creativity, and the capacity to manifest ideas into physical reality. Brown-eyed individuals often possess strong creative drives and the practical skills necessary to bring their visions into concrete form. They're natural builders, creators, and manifestors who can take abstract concepts and transform them into tangible results. In relationships, the brown-eyed archetypal pattern tends toward loyalty, devotion, and deep emotional commitment. These individuals often prefer long-term, stable partnerships and are willing to work through challenges rather than abandoning relationships when difficulties arise. Their approach to love is practical and enduring rather than dramatic or idealistic. The spiritual journey of brown-eyed individuals often involves learning to balance their natural groundedness with openness to mystery and change. Their path toward individuation, Jung's term for becoming fully yourself, typically requires developing trust in processes they cannot control and learning to find the sacred within the ordinary rather than seeking it only in extraordinary experiences. Blue eyes carry the profound archetypal energy of water and sky, the vast mysterious depths that Jung associated with intuition, spiritual seeking, and connection to the infinite. If you have blue eyes, your soul embodies what Jung would recognize as the archetypal patterns of the mystic, the dreamer, and the spiritual seeker. Blue-eyed individuals tend to operate from what Jung called the intuitive function, a psychological preference for possibilities, meanings, connections, and the unseen patterns that operate beneath surface reality. This gives blue-eyed people natural access to insights about hidden meanings, future possibilities, and the deeper significance of events and relationships. From an archetypal perspective, blue eyes connect you to the ancient energies of the ocean goddess, the sky father, and the visionary prophet. These are souls who serve as bridges between the seen and unseen worlds, offering others glimpses of possibilities beyond immediate reality. Blue-eyed people often find themselves drawn to spiritual practices, artistic expression, healing work, or any field that involves working with unseen energies and deeper meanings. The blue-eyed archetypal pattern carries natural gifts of empathy, intuition, and spiritual sensitivity. These individuals often possess what Jung would call a permeable ego boundary. They're naturally sensitive to others' emotions, energetic states, and unconscious patterns. This sensitivity can be both a profound gift and a significant challenge, as blue-eyed individuals may absorb others' emotional states without realizing it. Blue eyes also embody what Jung recognized as the archetypal pattern of eternal seeking. Blue-eyed individuals rarely feel completely satisfied with surface-level explanations or conventional answers to life's deeper questions. They're natural philosophers and spiritual seekers who continue questioning, exploring, and diving deeper throughout their entire lives. This can lead to profound wisdom and insight, but it can also create a sense of never feeling fully settled or at peace. The shadow aspect of blue eyes tends to manifest as potential escapism, emotional overwhelm, or difficulty with practical grounding. Blue-eyed individuals might struggle with what Jung called too much sky, losing themselves in possibilities and dreams without developing the practical skills necessary to manifest their visions in the physical world. They may also be prone to mood fluctuations, emotional sensitivity, or difficulty establishing firm boundaries. However, when blue-eyed individuals learn to balance their natural intuitive gifts with practical grounding, often through relationships with more earth-oriented partners or through deliberate cultivation of practical skills, they become extraordinary channels for healing, creativity, and spiritual insight. But here's something profound that Jung understood about blue eyes that might completely shift how you see yourself or the blue-eyed people in your life. Blue eyes don't just see the physical world, they see through it to the deeper patterns and meanings that most people miss entirely. If you have blue eyes, or if you love someone with blue eyes, you're dealing with souls who are literally wired to perceive reality on multiple levels simultaneously. This means that blue-eyed individuals often know things they can't explain, sense things that haven't happened yet, and feel the emotional undercurrents in situations that others don't even notice. They're not being dramatic or overly sensitive. They're responding to information that their archetypal makeup allows them to perceive. Think about this. Have you ever had a blue-eyed person in your life tell you they had a feeling about someone or something that later proved accurate? Have you noticed blue-eyed individuals picking up on relationship dynamics or emotional tensions that seemed invisible to everyone else? This isn't coincidence, it's archetypal functioning. I want to know about your experiences with this blue-eyed intuition. If you have blue eyes, share a time when you knew something you couldn't logically explain. If you love someone with blue eyes, tell us about their uncanny ability to sense things others miss. Leave your stories in the comments. Your experiences might help others understand and appreciate this profound archetypal gift. Green eyes represent one of the most fascinating and complex archetypal patterns in Jung's understanding of color psychology. If you have green eyes, found in only about 2% of the global population, your soul embodies what Jung would recognize as the archetypal energy of transformation, healing, and the bridge between earth and water, matter and spirit. Green eyes carry what Jung called the alchemical archetype, the pattern of transformation, and the ability to facilitate change in yourself and others. The color green itself represents growth, renewal, healing, and the mysterious process by which life transforms itself from one state to another. Green-eyed individuals often find themselves naturally drawn to roles as healers, transformational teachers, counselors, or guides who help others navigate major life changes. From an archetypal perspective, green eyes connect you to the ancient energies of the healer, the magician, and the sacred transformer. These are souls who possess natural understanding of psychological and spiritual alchemy, the processes by which suffering transforms into wisdom. Wounds become sources of strength, and seemingly impossible changes become achievable realities. The green-eyed archetypal pattern tends to combine the groundedness of brown eyes with the intuitive sensitivity of blue eyes, creating individuals who can work effectively in both practical and mystical realms. Green-eyed people often possess what Jung would call integrated perception. They can see both the concrete details of situations and the deeper patterns and possibilities simultaneously. This unique combination makes green-eyed individuals natural counselors, healers, and guides. They can meet others in practical reality while simultaneously helping them access deeper truths and transformational insights. Green-eyed people often become the ones others turn to during crisis or major life transitions because they naturally understand how to navigate change and uncertainty. Green eyes also embody what Jung recognized as the archetypal pattern of the wounded healer, individuals whose own experiences of challenge, loss, or transformation become the source of their ability to help others heal and grow. Green-eyed individuals often discover their greatest gifts emerging from their most difficult experiences, and they naturally understand how to help others find meaning and growth within their own struggles. The shadow aspect of green eyes tends to manifest as potential jealousy, possessiveness, or difficulty with emotional boundaries. The transformational energy that makes green-eyed individuals such powerful healers and guides can also create intensity in relationships that others find overwhelming. Green-eyed people might struggle with controlling tendencies or difficulty allowing others to have their own experiences without trying to facilitate or direct their growth. However, when green-eyed individuals engage in conscious shadow work, recognizing and integrating these challenging aspects, they often develop extraordinary wisdom about human nature and remarkable skill in facilitating others' authentic development without manipulation or control. Green eyes carry powerful creative and sexual energy, but it's often more complex and psychologically sophisticated than the straightforward earth energy of brown eyes or the romantic idealism of blue eyes. Green-eyed individuals tend to be attracted to partners and creative projects that offer opportunities for mutual transformation and growth. Their approach to both love and creativity involves depth, intensity, and the willingness to dive into psychological complexity. The spiritual journey of green-eyed individuals often involves learning to balance their natural healing gifts with appropriate boundaries and self-care. Their path toward individuation typically requires developing the wisdom to know when to offer help and when to allow others to find their own way, when to dive deep into transformational processes, and when to step back and integrate their experiences. Green-eyed people also carry what Jung would recognize as natural understanding of what he called the transcendent function, the psychological process by which opposites are integrated into higher levels of consciousness. They often serve as bridges between different perspectives, helping others find synthesis and resolution in apparently irreconcilable conflicts. Hazel eyes present one of the most psychologically complex and fascinating archetypal patterns in Jung's framework. If you have hazel eyes, those remarkable eyes that shift between brown, green, and gold depending on lighting and mood, your soul embodies what Jung would recognize as the archetypal pattern of the shapeshifter, the adapter, and the multidimensional being. Hazel eyes represent what Jung called psychological multiplicity, the capacity to access different archetypal energies depending on circumstances, relationships, and inner states. This isn't inconsistency or instability, it's sophisticated psychological flexibility and the ability to respond authentically to different situations by accessing whatever archetypal energy serves the highest good in each moment. From an archetypal perspective, Hazel eyes connect you to the ancient energies of the trickster, the wise counselor, and the sacred shapeshifter. These are souls who possess natural understanding of human complexity and the ability to meet others wherever they are psychologically and emotionally. Hazel-eyed individuals often become natural diplomats, counselors, teachers, or facilitators because they can authentically resonate with diverse perspectives and experiences. The hazel-eyed archetypal pattern carries the unique gift of what Jung might call archetypal fluidity, the ability to access the groundedness of brown eyes when stability is needed, the intuitive depths of blue eyes when spiritual insight is required, and the transformational power of green eyes when healing or change is called for. This makes hazel-eyed individuals incredibly versatile and adaptable, while also creating potential challenges with identity and consistency. Hazel-eyed people often struggle with questions like, "Who am I really?" because their authentic self includes multiple genuine aspects that may seem contradictory to others or even to themselves. They may be deeply practical in some situations and highly intuitive in others, intensely emotional with some people and coolly detached with others, creative and dreamy at times, and focused and methodical at other times. Jung would recognize this not as psychological instability, but as psychological richness and the capacity for what he called holding the tension of opposites. Hazel-eyed individuals often serve as bridges between different types of people, different perspectives, and different ways of being in the world. They can understand and communicate with earth-oriented practical people, water-oriented emotional and intuitive people, and fire-oriented passionate and creative people, because they carry all these archetypal energies within themselves. The shadow aspect of hazel eyes tends to manifest as potential identity confusion, difficulty with commitment, or the tendency to become whatever others expect, rather than maintaining authentic self-expression. Hazel-eyed individuals might struggle with consistency in relationships or career paths, changing directions frequently as different aspects of their complex nature seek expression. However, when hazel-eyed individuals learn to embrace their psychological complexity as a gift rather than trying to force themselves into simple categories, they often develop extraordinary wisdom about human nature and remarkable skill in helping others integrate seemingly contradictory aspects of their own personalities. Hazel eyes also embody what Jung recognized as the archetypal pattern of the eternal student, individuals who continue learning, growing, and discovering new aspects of themselves throughout their entire lives. This can create remarkable depth and wisdom, but it can also generate restlessness or dissatisfaction with any single role or identity. In relationships, hazel-eyed individuals often need partners who appreciate complexity and change rather than seeking predictability and consistency. They thrive in relationships that allow for growth, exploration, and the expression of different aspects of their multifaceted nature. Their approach to love involves psychological depth and the willingness to continue discovering new dimensions of both themselves and their partners. The spiritual journey of hazel-eyed individuals often involves learning to integrate their multiple archetypal energies into a coherent sense of self while maintaining the flexibility that is their greatest gift. Their path toward individuation typically requires developing what Jung called the transcendent function, the ability to synthesize opposites into higher levels of consciousness and authentic self-expression. Hazel-eyed people frequently become natural healers and teachers because they can understand and relate to such diverse human experiences. They often serve as living examples of Jung's concept of individuation, the process of becoming fully yourself by integrating all aspects of your personality into conscious, authentic expression. Gray eyes and violet eyes represent some of the rarest and most psychologically complex archetypal patterns in Jung's understanding of color psychology. These unusual eye colors carry what Jung would recognize as connections to what he called the transcendent function, and the deepest mysteries of human consciousness. Grey eyes embody the archetypal energy of what Jung might call the wise neutral. Individuals who possess natural ability to see beyond dualistic thinking and access higher perspectives that transcend ordinary psychological categories. Grey represents the synthesis of all colors, just as grey-eyed individuals often possess the ability to synthesize multiple perspectives, ideas, and experiences into unified understanding. If you have grey eyes, your soul carries the archetypal patterns of the philosopher, the objective witness, and the transcendent observer. Grey-eyed individuals often possess what Jung called psychological objectivity, the rare ability to step outside their personal emotional reactions and see situations from multiple perspectives simultaneously. This makes them natural mediators, counselors, and wisdom keepers. The grey-eyed archetypal pattern tends to combine intellectual clarity with emotional wisdom, creating individuals who can think clearly even in highly charged emotional situations. Grey-eyed people often become the ones others turn to for objective perspective and wise counsel because they naturally see beyond personal bias and emotional reactivity. However, the shadow aspect of grey eyes can manifest as emotional detachment, difficulty with intimacy, or tendency toward intellectual superiority. Grey-eyed individuals might struggle with fully engaging their emotional nature, or may use their objective perspective as a defense against vulnerability and deep emotional connection. Violet eyes, among the rarest eye colors in human beings, carry even more mysterious archetypal significance. Jung would likely recognize violet eyes as manifestations of what he called numinous energy, connection to the sacred, the mystical, and the transcendent dimensions of human experience. Violet combines the spiritual depth of blue with the transformational intensity of red, creating individuals who often serve as bridges between ordinary consciousness and mystical awareness. If you have violet eyes, your soul embodies the archetypal patterns of the mystic, the sacred artist, and the spiritual revolutionary. Violet-eyed individuals often possess natural psychic sensitivity, artistic gifts, and deep understanding of spiritual realities that others might not perceive. They frequently find themselves drawn to artistic expression, spiritual practices, or healing work that involves accessing non-ordinary states of consciousness. The violet-eyed archetypal pattern carries profound creative and spiritual gifts, but it can also create challenges with fitting into conventional social structures or finding others who understand their unusual perspective on reality. Violet-eyed individuals may feel like outsiders or aliens in ordinary social situations, while feeling deeply at home in creative, spiritual, or healing environments. Both grey and violet eyes represent what Jung called individuated consciousness, psychological development that has moved beyond conventional categories and achieved integration of multiple levels of awareness. Individuals with these rare eye colors often serve as bridges between ordinary human consciousness and higher possibilities for human development. The spiritual journey for those with grey or violet eyes often involves learning to ground their transcendent insights in practical reality and finding ways to share their unusual gifts without overwhelming others or isolating themselves from human community. Their path toward full self-expression typically requires developing what Jung called creative adaptation, finding authentic ways to manifest their unique archetypal energies in forms that serve both their own development and the broader human community. One of Jung's most important contributions to psychology was his understanding of the shadow, those aspects of our personality that we've pushed into unconsciousness because they're socially unacceptable, personally uncomfortable, or simply unknown to us. When we explore eye color through Jung's framework, we must also understand the shadow aspects that each archetypal pattern carries. Every eye color embodies both positive gifts and potential psychological challenges. The key to psychological health and authentic individuation isn't eliminating the challenging aspects, but learning to recognize and consciously integrate them. Jung understood that our greatest strengths often contain the seeds of our greatest weaknesses, and our most difficult patterns often hide our most valuable gifts. For brown-eyed individuals, shadow work might involve recognizing and addressing tendencies towards stubbornness, resistance to change, or excessive materialism. The same archetypal energy that provides stability and groundedness can become rigid and limiting when taken to extremes. Brown-eyed people might need to consciously cultivate flexibility, openness to new experiences, and willingness to trust in processes they cannot control. The brown-eyed shadow might also include suppressed spiritual yearnings or creative impulses that seem impractical or unrealistic. Because brown-eyed individuals are naturally oriented toward practical reality, they might unconsciously dismiss or repress aspects of themselves that long for mystery, transcendence, or artistic expression. Integrating these shadow elements often unlocks profound creative and spiritual gifts. For blue-eyed individuals, shadow work frequently involves addressing tendencies toward emotional overwhelm, escapism, or difficulty with practical grounding. The same archetypal sensitivity that provides intuitive gifts and spiritual insight can become problematic when it leads to absorbing others' emotions without boundaries, or losing oneself in dreams and possibilities without taking concrete action. The blue-eyed shadow might include suppressed anger, practical ambitions, or desires for material security that feel inconsistent with their spiritual orientation. Blue-eyed individuals might unconsciously judge practical concerns as unspiritual or repress their own needs for stability and security. Integrating these shadow elements often creates more balanced and effective individuals who can manifest their spiritual insights in practical ways. For green-eyed individuals, shadow work often involves recognizing and addressing tendencies toward jealousy, possessiveness, or manipulative control. The same transformational intensity that makes green-eyed people powerful healers and guides can become destructive when directed toward controlling others' growth processes or competing with others' gifts and achievements. The green-eyed shadow might also include fear of their own power or tendency to give their energy away too freely to others' healing needs while neglecting their own development. Green-eyed individuals might unconsciously sacrifice their own growth to help others, or become so identified with their healer role that they lose touch with other aspects of their personality. For hazel-eyed individuals, shadow work frequently involves addressing identity confusion, commitment difficulties, or tendency to become whatever others expect, rather than maintaining authentic self-expression. The same psychological flexibility that makes hazel-eyed people adaptable and versatile can become problematic when it leads to losing touch with authentic desires and preferences. The hazel-eyed shadow might include fear of being seen as inconsistent or unreliable, leading to attempts to force themselves into simple categories that don't fit their complex nature. They might also struggle with decision-making or commitment because they can genuinely see value in multiple options simultaneously. Jung understood that shadow work isn't about eliminating challenging aspects of our personality, but about bringing them into conscious awareness so we can choose how to express our archetypal energies in healthy, authentic ways. When we recognize and integrate our shadow patterns, we often discover that they contain valuable information about neglected aspects of our personality that deserve expression and development. Jung's understanding of archetypal psychology provides profound insights into how different eye colors interact in relationships. When we understand the archetypal energies that different eye colors represent, we gain valuable perspective on attraction patterns, relationship dynamics, and the growth opportunities that different partnerships provide. Relationships between individuals with different archetypal eye color patterns often involve what Jung called compensation. Each partner provides psychological qualities that balance and complete the other's natural tendencies. These relationships can be profoundly growth-inducing because they challenge each person to develop aspects of their personality that might otherwise remain dormant. Brown-eyed and blue-eyed partnerships often create what Jung would recognize as earth-water dynamics. The brown-eyed partner provides grounding, stability, and practical wisdom, while the blue-eyed partner offers intuitive insight, emotional depth, and spiritual perspective. This combination can create relationships that are both deeply rooted and spiritually expansive, provided both partners appreciate and learn from each other's different approaches to reality. The challenges in brown-blue partnerships typically arise when the brown-eyed partner dismisses the blue-eyed partner's intuitive insights as impractical or unrealistic, or when the blue-eyed partner judges the brown-eyed partner's practical concerns as unspiritual or limiting. Growth occurs when each partner recognizes the value of the other's archetypal gifts and works to develop those qualities within themselves. Green-eyed individuals often create intense transformational relationships regardless of their partner's eye color, because the green-eyed archetypal pattern naturally catalyzes change and growth. These relationships tend to involve psychological depth, healing processes, and mutual transformation. Partners of green-eyed individuals often find themselves growing and changing in ways they never expected, sometimes finding the intensity overwhelming but ultimately valuable for their development. Hazel-eyed individuals bring psychological complexity and adaptability to relationships, often serving as bridges between different personality types and helping their partners integrate seemingly contradictory aspects of their own nature. Their relationships tend to involve ongoing discovery and growth as different aspects of the hazel-eyed person's multifaceted nature emerge in response to changing circumstances and developmental phases. Same eye color partnerships create different dynamics. Two brown-eyed individuals might create very stable, practical, grounded relationships, but may need to consciously cultivate spiritual exploration and emotional depth. Two blue-eyed individuals might share profound spiritual and emotional connection, but may struggle with practical matters and worldly responsibilities. Two green-eyed individuals often create relationships of extraordinary intensity and transformational potential, but they may also experience power struggles or competitive dynamics around healing gifts and psychological insight. Two hazel-eyed individuals might understand each other's complexity, but may struggle with consistency and commitment as both partners continue evolving and changing. Jung would emphasize that understanding these archetypal patterns isn't about determining compatibility or incompatibility, but about recognizing the growth opportunities and challenges that different combinations provide. Every relationship offers potential for what he called individuation, becoming more fully yourself through engagement with another person's different archetypal energies. The key to successful relationships across different eye color archetypes lies in appreciation rather than judgment, curiosity rather than criticism, and willingness to grow rather than insistence on remaining unchanged. When partners understand and respect each other's archetypal nature, while supporting each other's growth beyond limiting patterns, relationships become vehicles for mutual individuation and spiritual development. Jung's concept of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming fully yourself, by integrating all aspects of your personality into conscious, authentic expression, takes on profound new dimensions when understood through the lens of eye color psychology. Your eye color represents not just your current archetypal orientation, but also the developmental path toward wholeness that your soul has chosen for this lifetime. For brown-eyed individuals, the individuation journey often involves learning to balance their natural groundedness with openness to mystery, transcendence, and spiritual exploration. Their path toward wholeness typically requires developing what Jung called the inferior function, in this case often intuition and spiritual sensitivity. Brown-eyed individuals frequently discover that their greatest growth comes through practices that initially feel foreign or uncomfortable. Meditation, artistic expression, dream work, or other activities that connect them to non-rational ways of knowing. The brown-eyed individuation journey might involve learning to trust processes they cannot control, opening to possibilities they cannot immediately understand, and developing comfort with uncertainty and mystery. As they integrate these initially challenging elements, brown-eyed individuals often become profoundly wise teachers who can bridge practical wisdom with spiritual insight. For blue-eyed individuals, individuation typically involves developing practical skills, emotional boundaries, and the ability to manifest their spiritual insights in concrete reality. Their path toward wholeness requires learning to ground their natural intuitive gifts through disciplined practice, systematic development, and engagement with material world challenges. The blue-eyed individuation journey might involve learning to manage their emotional sensitivity through healthy boundaries, developing practical skills that seem initially boring or limiting, and finding ways to serve others through concrete action rather than just spiritual insight. As they integrate these grounding elements, blue-eyed individuals often become powerful healers and teachers who can translate mystical insights into practical wisdom. For green-eyed individuals, individuation usually involves learning to balance their transformational intensity with acceptance, their healing gifts with appropriate boundaries, and their power to facilitate change with respect for others' autonomy. Their path toward wholeness requires developing what Jung called wise restraint, knowing when to offer their gifts and when to step back and allow others to find their own way. The green-eyed individuation journey might involve healing their own wounded healer patterns, learning to receive as well as give, and developing relationships based on mutual growth rather than one-sided helping dynamics. As they integrate these balancing elements, green-eyed individuals often become extraordinary counselors and guides who can facilitate transformation without control or manipulation. For hazel-eyed individuals, individuation typically involves learning to synthesize their multiple archetypal energies into coherent self-expression while maintaining the flexibility that is their greatest gift. Their path toward wholeness requires developing what Jung called centered multiplicity, the ability to be genuinely complex without being inconsistent or unreliable. The hazel-eyed individuation journey might involve learning to make decisions and commitments while honoring their multifaceted nature, developing integrated identity that includes apparent contradictions, and finding career paths and relationships that celebrate rather than limit their psychological complexity. As they integrate these synthesizing elements, hazel-eyed individuals often become natural wisdom teachers who help others embrace their own complexity and contradictions. For those with rare gray or violet eyes, individuation involves learning to ground their transcendent insights in practical reality while maintaining their connection to higher consciousness. Their path toward wholeness requires developing what Jung called conscious participation in both ordinary human community and extraordinary spiritual realities. Jung understood that the individuation process never ends. It continues throughout our entire lifetime as we encounter new challenges, relationships, and opportunities for growth. Your eye color provides a roadmap for this journey, indicating both your natural gifts and the areas where growth and integration are most needed for your full development. Jung's insights into eye color psychology align remarkably with ancient wisdom traditions that recognize the connection between physical appearance and spiritual reality. Many indigenous cultures, mystical traditions, and ancient healing systems understood that eye color carried profound information about a person's soul characteristics, their spiritual gifts, and their role in the community. In ancient Celtic traditions, different eye colors were associated with specific spiritual gifts and responsibilities. Green eyes were often seen as indicators of natural healing abilities and connection to earth magic. Blue eyes were associated with seers, prophets, and individuals who could perceive beyond the physical realm. Brown eyes indicated individuals with strong protective abilities and deep wisdom about practical matters. Ancient Egyptian mystery schools recognized eye color as one of many physical indicators of spiritual development and archetypal alignment. They understood that the physical body serves as a temple for the soul, and that every aspect of physical appearance, including eye color, reflects the soul's chosen path of development and service. Traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic healing systems both recognize connections between eye color and constitutional types, temperament patterns, and energetic qualities. These ancient healing traditions understood that physical traits like eye color provide valuable information for understanding an individual's psychological makeup, health tendencies, and optimal approaches to healing and growth. Native American traditions often included eye color in their understanding of an individual's medicine, their spiritual gifts, and the unique way they're meant to serve their community. Different eye colors were associated with different animal spirits, directional energies, and ceremonial roles within tribal structures. What makes Jung's approach so valuable is that he provides a rigorous psychological framework for understanding these ancient insights while avoiding superstition or oversimplification. He recognized that the correlation between physical traits and psychological patterns doesn't imply genetic determinism or fixed destiny. Rather, it reflects the deep interconnection between mind, body, and spirit that characterizes human existence. Jung's analytical psychology allows us to appreciate the wisdom of these ancient traditions while maintaining scientific rigor and respect for individual uniqueness. Your eye color provides valuable insights into your archetypal patterns and psychological orientation, but it doesn't determine your personality or limit your potential for growth and development. Modern research in genetics and psychology is beginning to validate some of these ancient insights. Studies have found correlations between certain physical traits and personality characteristics, though the mechanisms remain largely mysterious. What seems clear is that the ancient understanding of mind-body-spirit integration contains profound truths that modern psychology is only beginning to rediscover. Jung's approach bridges ancient wisdom and modern psychology, providing a framework that honors both the practical insights of contemporary science and the profound understanding of human nature found in traditional wisdom teachings. This integration allows us to use eye color insights as tools for self-understanding and growth, while maintaining respect for the complexity and mystery of human personality. Understanding your eye color through Jung's archetypal framework provides practical insights that can enhance your self-awareness, improve your relationships, and guide your personal development journey. These insights aren't meant to limit or categorize you, but to provide a deeper understanding of your natural psychological patterns and growth opportunities. If you have brown eyes, you can use this understanding to appreciate your natural gifts of stability, practical wisdom, and groundedness, while consciously developing areas that might feel less natural: intuitive awareness, spiritual exploration, and comfort with uncertainty. You might benefit from practices like meditation, dream journaling, creative expression, or time in nature that help you access your less developed intuitive functions. Brown-eyed individuals often find growth through relationships with more intuitive or spiritually oriented partners and friends who can help them explore dimensions of experience beyond practical concerns. You might also benefit from travel, cultural exploration, or educational pursuits that challenge your existing worldview and expose you to different ways of understanding reality. If you have blue eyes, you can appreciate your natural gifts of intuition, spiritual sensitivity, and emotional depth, while consciously developing practical skills and emotional boundaries. You might benefit from practices like physical exercise, hands-on learning, business or financial education, or other activities that help you develop your less natural practical functions. Blue-eyed individuals often find growth through relationships with more grounded, practical partners and friends who can help them manifest their spiritual insights in concrete reality. You might also benefit from structured learning environments, systematic skill development, or service projects that require both spiritual insight and practical implementation. If you have green eyes, you can appreciate your natural gifts of transformation, healing insight, and psychological depth, while consciously developing healthy boundaries and balanced relationships. You might benefit from practices that help you receive as well as give: therapy, coaching, spiritual direction, or peer support groups where you can explore your own growth needs. Green-eyed individuals often find growth through relationships that challenge them to be vulnerable and receive support rather than always being in the helping role. You might also benefit from creative pursuits, competitive activities, or leadership roles that allow you to express your intensity in constructive ways without overwhelming others. If you have hazel eyes, you can appreciate your natural gifts of adaptability, psychological complexity, and multidimensional awareness while consciously developing consistency and integrated decision-making. You might benefit from practices that help you synthesize your various interests and abilities: journaling, coaching, therapy, or creative projects that allow you to express multiple aspects of your personality simultaneously. Hazel-eyed individuals often find growth through relationships and career paths that celebrate rather than limit their complexity. You might thrive in roles that require versatility, adaptability, and the ability to work with diverse people and situations. For all eye colors, Jung would emphasize the importance of shadow work, consciously recognizing and integrating the challenging aspects of your archetypal pattern. This might involve therapy, meditation, journaling, or other practices that help you become aware of unconscious patterns and develop more conscious choices about how to express your archetypal energies. Understanding your eye color archetype can also improve your relationships by helping you appreciate why certain types of people are naturally attractive to you and why certain relationship dynamics tend to repeat in your life. This awareness can help you make more conscious choices about relationships and develop greater compassion for partners whose archetypal nature differs from your own. Jung's understanding of archetypal psychology extends beyond individual personality to include what he called the collective unconscious, the shared psychological heritage of humanity that expresses itself through universal symbols, myths, and patterns. When we understand eye color through this broader lens, we begin to see how individual archetypal patterns serve larger purposes in human community and cultural evolution. Different eye color archetypes represent different aspects of collective human wisdom and functionality. Brown-eyed individuals often serve as cultural stabilizers. They preserve traditions, maintain practical knowledge, and provide the steady foundation that allows societies to function and endure. Their archetypal energy helps communities remain grounded in practical reality and connected to the wisdom of experience. Blue-eyed individuals frequently serve as cultural visionaries and spiritual guides. They perceive possibilities beyond current reality, maintain connection to transcendent values, and help communities navigate change by accessing higher perspectives. Their archetypal energy helps societies remain open to growth, transformation, and connection to larger meanings. Green-eyed individuals often function as cultural healers and transformers. They facilitate necessary changes, help communities process collective trauma, and guide transitions from dysfunctional patterns to healthier ways of being. Their archetypal energy helps societies heal, evolve, and integrate new understanding into functional structures. Hazel-eyed individuals typically serve as cultural bridges and synthesizers. They help different groups understand each other, facilitate communication across differences, and model the integration of apparently contradictory perspectives. Their archetypal energy helps societies navigate complexity and maintain unity while honoring diversity. Jung would recognize these different archetypal functions as equally necessary for healthy human communities. Problems arise when any single archetypal pattern becomes dominant, or when certain archetypal energies are devalued or suppressed. Healthy cultures require the stability of brown-eyed energy, the vision of blue-eyed energy, the transformation capacity of green-eyed energy, and the integration abilities of hazel-eyed energy. Understanding these collective functions can help individuals appreciate their own archetypal gifts as contributions to larger human purposes rather than just personal characteristics. Your eye color represents not just your individual psychological pattern, but also your potential service to collective human wisdom and cultural evolution. This perspective can be particularly valuable during times of cultural change and uncertainty. By understanding the archetypal functions that different eye colors represent, communities can more consciously draw on the diverse wisdom and capabilities that different individuals bring to collective challenges. Jung also recognized that archetypal patterns evolve over time in response to changing cultural needs. The specific ways that brown, blue, green, and hazel eye archetypes express themselves may shift as human societies face new challenges and opportunities for development. As we near the end of this profound exploration, I want to hear about your own experiences with eye color psychology. Have you noticed patterns in your life that align with what we've discussed about your eye color archetype? Have you observed interesting dynamics between people with different eye colors in your relationships or community? Share your insights in the comments below. Your observations might provide valuable validation or new perspectives for others exploring these ideas. And if this deep dive into Jungian psychology and archetypal wisdom has resonated with you, please subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. I regularly explore the intersection of ancient wisdom and modern psychology, providing insights that can transform how you understand yourself and navigate your personal development journey. As we conclude this journey through the archetypal depths of eye color psychology, take a moment to look in a mirror once again and gaze into your own eyes with new understanding. What you're seeing is no longer just a random genetic trait or a feature for others to find attractive. You're looking into a sacred mirror that reflects the deepest patterns and purposes of your soul's journey in this lifetime. Jung's revolutionary insight that every aspect of our being carries psychological and spiritual significance transforms something as simple as eye color into a gateway for profound self-understanding. Your brown, blue, green, hazel, gray, or violet eyes represent archetypal energies that have been shaping your personality, relationships, creative expression, and spiritual development from the moment you first opened them to the world. But perhaps most importantly, understanding your eye color archetype provides a roadmap for your continued growth and individuation. It reveals both your natural gifts and the areas where expansion and integration are most needed for your full development as a conscious, authentic human being. Your eye color doesn't limit you. It illuminates the unique path by which you can become most fully yourself while serving the larger human community through your distinct archetypal gifts. Whether you carry the grounding wisdom of earth, the transcendent insight of water, the transformational power of nature's growth, or the integrative magic of change itself, you possess archetypal energies that the world needs. Remember that Jung's psychology is ultimately about becoming more conscious, more integrated, and more authentic. Understanding your eye color archetype is just one tool in this lifelong journey of discovering who you truly are beneath the layers of social conditioning, family expectations, and cultural programming. The eyes may be the windows to the soul, but you are the one who chooses how to live the soul's deepest truths. Your eye color provides the blueprint. How you build your life from that foundation is your ongoing creative act of individuation and authentic self-expression. Look into your eyes with appreciation, respect, and curiosity. They hold secrets about your deepest nature that can guide you toward a life of greater meaning, more authentic relationships, and more effective service to the collective human journey toward consciousness and wholeness. The mirror reflects not just who you are, but who you have the potential to become. Your eyes hold both the map and the destination, the archetypal pattern you're here to embody, and the individuated self you're destined to become.